Awkward being sat like right here.
Can everybody hear me in the back?
In the corner.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it down. Can everybody hear me in the back? All right.
These only feed to that.
Cool.
All right, whatever.
You guys ready to roll?
You ready?
When you are, RT.
Hi everybody, I'm RT Barcik. I'm a co-founder in a company called Relayto. I have impeccable fashion sense, so if you ever have any questions, check the guy down with the cowl jacket. We're in the Alliance Center all the way to the left, so bank around all the way to the left if you want to see any of this stuff that we're going to walk through today live. We'd be very interested in having some conversations with everybody. I'm very proud to be working with some UBA members here. Tom Clements from Meridian Risk, everybody knows, and Jaime Ferraro from Dillingham Benefits. I'm sure do we have any other Relayto clients in the crowd? Excellent. Which company are you with? Stanley Walters. Awesome. Well, good to see you guys in person. I work from home and work in a basement, so it's fun to get out and see people in person. So, yeah, I don't wear this at home, but only in events like this. But
I can't forget you then.
Exactly. That's part of the problem and the benefit, I should say. But I had sent this around earlier. Did anybody get a chance to have a look at this experience that was sent via email? If you can raise your hands. Nobody. Okay, even better. So this is brand new. Excellent. So is anybody familiar with Relayto? Okay, a handful. Okay. Anybody have questions about us before we get going? Okay. Well, we're a digital experience management platform, and we got our start originally as a digital media production company that we built our own platform, and we did work with companies like Accenture and Salesforce to get started, but then we kind of pivoted towards a platform, and we're very fortunate to have met Tom, who's introduced us to the benefits world. And so we have a way with our platform to transform any of your content, PDF, PowerPoints, Excel spreadsheets, into digital resources that you'll see here. I can email this to everyone here and you can have access to it, but it's a way in which you can bring your communications into the modern world with your clients. Adding things like background videos. For this, I added AI. I had a lot of questions before this. How do we add an AI avatar to our communications? And has anybody wondered how to do that? Okay. We have a very simple way to do that with third-party solutions. This happens to be one from a company called Synthesia that I can teach everyone how to do, and just for the sake of introducing everybody.
Welcome to Grow Your Brokerage with AI and Digital Tools.
Okay.
Powered by Relayto.
When everyone, stop by my booth and I can send this to you if you didn't receive it yet, and be very happy to get you to have access to it. What I wanted to introduce people to our platform on three key ways, and in this experience it talks about building your digital arsenal, so converting your current assets into a digital piece that will impress your clients, and then also gain insights on how your clients are consuming the content you put in front of them. We do this at the individual level, and then also what we call our hub level. So we have a way in which you can create a branded digital ecosystem for each of your clients with their logo, their color scheme, all of their materials in one location. It's what we call a hub solution. And you can create a digital buyer room where not only can your buyers on the employer side interact with the content you have in front of them, like a proposal or an RFP or open enrollment guide, but you can have your clients push it out to their employees. And all along the way, you're tracking how each individual is consuming, how far along the process are they getting, where they have dropped off, so that you can go back and optimize your communications via the Relayto platform. That's our second step, is deploy and enjoy a personalized client portal. The last one is gaining these insights. So I encourage everybody, again, to come by my table. It's table number 1, around furthest to the left that you can go. Can't miss us, we're back in the corner. But when you can experience this, you'll be able to see how we deliver digital assets at an individual level, at the company-wide level, and then give you insights that you've never had on how your content's being consumed by your employers of the world. I'm very excited to kind of turn it over here and get out of the way. We have a couple of our clients. I think Tom's one of our longest running clients. And this is designed to be a bit of a roundtable to have a bit of an open discussion around how do you leverage digital tools to grow your business. And with that, I want to say one last thing about this experience. we are offering free access to a sandbox environment branded to your company. If you go into this digital experience and you go questions and sandbox entry, you'll see that you can upload a file and ask your questions. This is the way we asked you to register for the sandbox access. And this is all via Relayto. So if the internet kicks in, you'll be able to load an open enrollment guide or employee handbook or SBD or any kind of long form content via this form itself. And so if you interact with this experience, you'll start to see how Relayto can facilitate transactions and decisions made at the employee and the employer level, because there's so many different layers that we can build into into an asset in and of itself. Before we turn it over to the open discussion, any questions about the platform in and of itself? Okay, I'm great at describing this apparently. So why don't we start with this? Tom, do you mind starting with your origin story and sharing with the group how you found us and what you're trying to do when you got started?
Yeah. I appreciate everybody joining us. I didn't realize it was going to be standing room only, or else I might have prepared something. But I'm probably one of the, if not the longest Relayto user in the small, medium-sized business environment. So RT was being a little bit modest about the platform. It's used by some of the largest global brands that everybody would recognize: Essentia, SpaceX, PwC, Ogilvy, the list goes on of folks that are using it. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to them at the investor level. Like most of you, I was looking for something that would differentiate my agency from the national firms, and everybody seemed to be using, Brainshark and Prezi at that time. They were kind of the new kids on the block, but I was looking for something slightly different. And I happened to be on a call with an investor in Relayto who said, hey, you might want to try this out. And with 24 hours, we'd signed a contract to execute with them. We were so impressed by the platform, its intuitive nature. You can basically take any piece of content that you need to create an immersive digital experience. And so while we were primarily using it to create open enrollment presentations at the beginning, what you'll find is, if you are fortunate enough to engage in the technology, it's like an octopus. You'll figure out different ways that the tentacles can reach into other aspects of the business. So over the past 6 years, we've really started in the open enrollment sort of phase. Then it moved into the RFP phase. Now it's into self-service, hubs, various different enablements that come with the platform. And frankly, our business now couldn't survive without Relayto. We'd have to change multiple facets of how we use different technologies for client-facing stuff.
Excellent. And you found Jaime at a UBA conference?
Yes. So what I'll say is we were so heavily invested in Relayto that we actually created a separate business to be a software license reseller. And so we originally were Meridian Software Services powered by Relayto. And so a few of you may have received emails from me in the past or phone calls to set up a demo. Jaime was one of the folks that engaged us with that. We have since, based upon the success of Relayto and the fact that they've grown, we've actually taken a step back from that company and handed back the service. But what I will say is we are so invested that me and my partner Joe, who's in the room today, we actually are investors in the technology as well now. That's how much we believe in it and the power of transformation of brokerage agencies, that we're willing to continue on that ride and actually put our own money into the business. So Jaime, do you want to?
Yeah, I can jump in from there. So we met at a UBA conference, and I'm the VP of sales at Dillingham Insurance in Oklahoma City, so I head up the whole production team. And in 2020, all of us had to make changes, right? And one of the big changes for my production team was we were no longer able to go out and do on-site open enrollment meetings. And in our firm, that is on the producer to add that service, add that education to employees. And so we were doing a lot of Zoom meetings. We were recording a lot of Zoom meetings. And if any of you have ever recorded a Zoom meeting, you have to go from minute 1 to minute 40, and you have to be perfect. And so I have a lot of imperfect people. We all are imperfect people. And so they'd get 30 minutes into the Zoom meeting and they've screwed up. And so they've got to start all over again. And then once they finally got their perfect, polished presentation done on Zoom. Then the file was too big to send to the HR. It was getting stuck in firewalls. We're having to put it on a drive. They're having to download it. It was just a very clunky experience for not only my team, but for our clients. And so it took me about a year for Tom to wear me down to actually work with Relayto. But once we did, it was a complete game changer. Tom, or Archie, if you'll pull up that Mammoth Benefits Enrollment Guide, the second tab right there.
There you go.
So essentially what Relayto lets my team do is they can upload our open enrollment guide that our team creates for each of our clients. And if you'll see up there, you don't have to click on it. Michael's in the next room, so he'd hate me if you guys all heard him talking. But what it allows my producers to do is they can go in and page by page, they talk about the benefits. So all he has to do is talk about the welcome and record that, and he's done. Then you can go to the next page.
And you can do that within the platform, or the AI stuff we can teach you how to do.
Yes, either
externally
way,
as well.
and that's
Yeah.
our next to go. And I think if you go one more page.
Okay.
But he can go through here and he can add his talking to any page that he wants to, whether it's every page or just a few pages.
Yep.
It just gives him that. We found it's so much faster for him to do that. The other thing that we're able to do is we're able to embed things and make this a living, breathing document for employees and their families. Because now HR can send it out to employees, they can show their wife, they can show their husband, and they can, see what is a flexible spending account. We can load a video that talks about what that is. We can load videos, we can add links, all sorts of stuff to just make this. I know when I first started talking to Tom, one of my biggest reservations was, my team can't do this. Like, this is a lot of work. How long does this take? But what we've found by, getting a few super users that then teach the rest of the team is once we've done a few of these, we have the template built, and then we can just reuse that template over and over again. Yep. And so it really is not as heavy as a lift as some people may think.
Let me jump in there for one quick second. We have learned from a lot of UBA members and other benefits brokers and GAs and employers of the world using this kind of content, what makes a good open enrollment guide or a presentation or an RFP response. And we're starting to build out templates that if you don't have these materials in-house, you can start to use a optimized for Relayto PowerPoint or Google size version of a presentation. Yeah. And so stop by the booth, we'll talk about that later, but go ahead.
One other way that we're using this, if you'll pull up the third one, that IMSA initial findings at the top, not that one,
there
the
we
next
go.
one.
Yeah.
So one other way that we're using Relayto is in the sales process. So we are blueprinters. So yes, we're part of that little cult, but and part of our process is a discovery meeting where we go in and we ask the prospective client a ton of questions, we get a lot of data, and then we come back with a blueprint presentation that shows them what our recommendations would be. So one way that we've done is we've used Relayto as kind of a soft follow-up where we're not calling the prospect and saying, hey, do you want to hire me yet? We can follow up with a Relayto and say, hey, just as a reminder, these are the major findings we found in our blueprint. And if you'd like to talk about them, please let us know. And not only are we able to send it in a cool format, it looks nice, it's different, like Tom said, than the box national firms. We're then also, to RT's point earlier, we're able to look at the analytics to see, did that person open it? Like, are they really engaged? Are they really going to hire us? And if they opened it, what page did they spend time on? Did they spend time on that self-funded analysis that we did so that when I call them, I can ask them about that, and that's a conversation that I can have? It gives us so much more insight into what those employers care about. Same thing, we're using it on the employee side when we're doing these open enrollment materials and sending it out. We can tell what areas employees are focusing on, where they're spending the most time when they're going through that experience.
That's pretty fun.
And so we can send out follow-up communication to those employees on that.
Apparently I forgot my password, but let me try to
That's the
figure it
worst.
out.
So while he's trying to find his password, I liken Relayto to bacon. Bacon makes everything a little bit better. And so you're not looking to recreate the wheel with this. It's basically, again, the open enrollment guide that you're already producing. Now it's got videos. Now it's got a arrow or a box around to highlight the information that's really important. Like, you're not going to create a Fortune 100 unless you've got a ton of time, right? It's very quick turnaround, but you can make it a little bit better than it perhaps would have been in FlipSnack or one of the other technologies that exist out there.
I'd be very happy to show everybody analytics at the booth. I just don't want to mess around trying to figure out
Are
password.
those videos, are you able to see on like a cell phone easy, or is it mainly?
Yeah, so that was one of my main questions. Obviously, everything needs to be mobile enabled now. So yes, the presentations are all mobile enabled. You just flip the phone around and it works in exactly the same way as it would on a desktop.
The other thing I think that really separates Relayto from like the FlipSnacks, I haven't looked at FlipSnack in a while, so I may be speaking out of turn, but if you look back at like our open enrollment document, one other thing that Relayto does is it does have an AI bot attached to it. So if an employee is going through that presentation and they look at all of their benefits and they're like, man, they keep saying deductible, what is that? The employee can actually go in and ask that question to Relayto, and it'll tell it what the answer is. It can also answer questions about what's in the document, of like, what is the network on my medical plan? And Relayto will look through the document and say, oh, you're on the Blue Choice network if you're on this plan or this plan. If you've chose this plan, you're on Blue Advantage. So it's hopefully a big seller to HR, because HR is not having to get all of those questions. Relayto can kind of save some of that from HR.
Yeah, and that's what we're really leaning into from a self-service perspective. I'm sure anybody in account management tends to get the same questions over and over again from employees or even the HR team. And so it's just a really nice, convenient way for the account manager to potentially pull up the answer quickly, or perhaps even train those employer groups or those employees to go searching for that information itself. So that's something we've really focused on for the last 18 months, is all plan certificates, summaries, carrier programs, whatever it is. You create a hub, which is essentially like a OneDrive folder or share file or whatever you're using. And so the AI operates at the hub level. And so people are no longer having to try and find the individual document that answers that question. They just type it in and find it. Where we've found value as recently as this weekend is on RFP responses. If somebody's producing a written RFP and they've got to compare how 5 different people answered a question, they've then got to try and find that in 5 different PDFs. With ours, they can just type in whatever they're asking for. What's Meridian's annual fee? How do they handle open enrollment? And it's going to give them the quick bite answer to that. And so we got an email for one that we submitted on Friday from the VP of HR that was like, this is actually really cool. Like, I'm proofreading it sort of right now, and I've found the answers that we really wanted to focus on, which were international benefits and, what's your 3 to 5 year strategy? Everything else was kind of noise to her. And she was like, I've got 5 of these things and I've got to read 40 pages to try and figure out where those are in the responses. I can just type it into yours. And so I actually won an RFP back in 2021 purely on the ease of use of our documents. Their comment on why we won the business was, we're able to find exactly what we needed very easily. We equated that to how it would be to do business with you guys, and that's overall like what won you the business, because everybody was fairly similar in their answers.
So I was circling as you were talking about the chat interaction with the individual asset level. There's a hub level chat as well, but for anybody that didn't see what I was circling, that was the embedded chat interaction. But To get to the analytics part, the last section of here is measurable engagements. You can see also how I'm navigating to different sections. It's not just A to Z. So your audience will be able to navigate in a choose your own adventure is what we like to talk about. Experience. Actually, let me go back
What does this look like on like a Ben admin system? Like if you use Employee Navigator or some type of system where you normally would upload a PDF document or various documents for the employees and assign it, how does this look?
Yeah, so it's a link that you post up there. What I will say is, if you've got Navigator, if they've got their own internal intranet system, various different places to host the same information, this actually becomes much easier, like for my staff. So they're not having to upload the same PDF 3 times. You just upload it once, pin the link, the hub's there. The nice thing about it is when it converts to the next year, like in Navigator, you would potentially have to go and delete all of the other ones out, add the new ones in. You can just add them into the hub, and so you can keep your 2024, 2025, and we separate it by like employer, employee, and it all lives on the same link. And so then there's certain like privacy parameters, like only these administrators can read the employer hub. Open access on any sort of domain is the employee hub. So you start gating things that way. Another win for us, which our clients loved, was we've sort of coined it like the Netflix of employee benefits, but we essentially created a singular generic library, definitions 101, what's a deductible, what's an out-of-pocket maximum, all about HSAs, preventative care, telemedicine, pretty much what everybody has within inside of their benefit program. We created it once, and then we've cloned it for our 160 clients. And everyone's like, wow, you took a lot of time to upload these 40 pieces of information that's available to us. We did it in 2 clicks once it was built out. So there's value in that. Like, a Marsh, a Mercer, Aon, whoever else it is, isn't going to be able to come in and create a fully customized communication set for that company and then provide them all the educational materials without spending a ton of time, effort, and resources, which they're just not going to do. So these are a couple of sort of things that we've been doing over the last 18 months that have proved value to the client. Yep.
If you update one of those videos, do you have to update it individually across each site, or do you update it in the master while it does?
Exactly. If you update it in the master, it auto feeds to the rest of them. Yep. Good question.
You can embed one core asset that's common across all into a branded something for a specific company as well. So there's different ways. I don't want to get too in the details, but there's ways to do it both is the short story.
Stacey.
My question is, I've seen this, of course, with Tom over the years. Isn't there like the live version of, because are you deploying what we're really looking at, or are you going to show us like I'm going to call it the production version?
Mm-hmm.
So that mammoth document that we looked at,
Yeah.
that's what the client sees.
Okay.
That's what we send out. We send it out via a link,
Yeah.
and
Presentation that you're giving to a prospect.
Yeah, so we use it for sales presentations, open enrollment, new hire, plan benchmarking data. So these are all things that it can be adapted to do. Obviously the sales presentation ones, we probably spend a little bit more time building those to be a little cleaner. But predominantly it's, the open enrollment is the sort of the churn and repetition. So yeah, the sales presentation, adding background imagery, adding videos, adding translations, adding the avatars and things like that. You're going to spend a little bit more time doing that, but then you're just pulling out a logo, putting in a logo for prospect, or dropping out a page or whatever it is from that sales presentation. The nice thing about that is, and to Jamie's point earlier, like you can put certain like gating parameters inside of there. So hands up if anybody's sent out a renewal illustration and all of a sudden it's been forwarded over to somebody else. Right, so you can actually gate it. It can only be read by this specific email address or this specific domain. So your content can no longer be forwarded to your competitors for them to try and rip it off.
And you can also, like in the instance of a prospect, like we sent that IMSA document over to that prospect, we could also have a timeline. Like if this goes away in 2 weeks. So you're not just going to keep our data, keep our, thought leadership and give it back to Gallagher.
And to your point, Stacey, about the sales presentations, like you get pinged when somebody looks at it if you set that up. So you'll be surprised that you have a great presentation, you send it over to the prospect, they ghost you for months and months and months, and then all of a sudden you get a ping into your email box, CFO, viewed this. Yep. And so that's the trigger from a prospecting perspective to reach out to them. You can also tell what they're interested in because of the page level analytics, what they clicked on, how much time they spent on there. HR person spent a ton of time on compliance. Well, I don't want to waste my time on wellness if that's where their focus is. Mm-hmm. So it's a really passive way for you to start building out your client prospecting profile for what specifically is of interest to them versus, the PowerPoint deck that you'd send them, it's 35 pages and you have no idea what they're interested in.
I think we should show people what that presentation, can you pull something like that up to show everyone? I think that is just this living, breathing, as a lot of us are producers in here, that really, this is all cool data and we all need it for sure. But I'm thinking front end, how you use it just for a moment. Because I think it's so amazing. It's
a great point. So we're very interested in working hands and glove with you all and how we can convert stuff. So in, again, this experience, you can upload stuff. We can show you how to build your own applications. We can do a few pieces for you. We can even do a kind of like an office hours meeting tomorrow morning or whenever a time that everybody has available, and I can do a live upload and edit and all of that, or we can have some of our developers do it. Haley has been she's been a godsend in giving us access to her computer, so that's why the passwords aren't in there. My computer doesn't have an HDMI input, so otherwise I'd be able to show you that live here. But it's, again, another opportunity to either come by the table, set up a schedule a time with me, either through the scheduler on the back end of this experience, or come by and we'll find a time where we can, everyone here, do a one-on-one meeting. Okay?
Are you using the system at all for like your quarterly claim reviews or anything like that? Like, are you able to upload large claimant information, claims data, and then kind of create a presentation to put out to employers?
Yes, I use it for everything. So this is sort of one of the iterations. So they're SOC 2 compliant, so posting claims data and things like that up there. What I generally do is like a high level presentation, and then I'll have like a downloadable link for the full claim file. And then I put that in the hub so that they're not coming back to us and saying, hey, can you send us marches? So we have a full running like tab of client claims information by client that's then in that employer hub section, historical. So new CFO comes in, hey, we'd love to schedule a meeting with them, but if they want the sort of quick download, they can then go in and look at that claims data. And then that's where the privacy side of it comes as well. We do a ton of M&A work, so we're doing like pre-acquisition due diligence stuff. So having it here versus PDF to send out that anybody can forward on is important to us from a privacy perspective. So there's a ton of, again, we've barely scratched the surface here. That's what I always tell people, and when I was selling the software for them, focus on one piece first. Yep. This is going to sound really overwhelming. You can do 15 different things with it. Find one business use case that you can first perfect, and that's what you want to use it for. You'll get comfortable with the system, and then you'll be like, well, we're going to try using it for this. Oh, and it can apply here too. Like, that's how we got started. I was one employee when I bought this system. We're now 15, 16. Everybody's cross-trained. It's really easy to use. I don't have any technical background in this stuff. So if I can build competent content, then I think everybody in this room can. Yeah, question?
I saw on one of there you had a Spanish open enrollment guide. So does the bot, if they asked you a question, can it do translation? So could somebody who's Spanish speaking ask it a question in Spanish?
Yeah, I believe if it's in Spanish and you have background information. So here's the thing about the chatbot. It's also only trained on the stuff you load into it. It's not trained on the entire internet. So I don't know if anybody's used ChatGPT or the internet and tried to think you're looking up something innocent and bad information comes back. our chatbot is only trained on the information you load. Same thing with your customer. So one customer can only see within their, the responses are only to Coca-Cola as the example in this demo. Coca-Cola employees can only see stuff for Coca-Cola. And then as Tom mentioned, it also is trained on that individual's security level. So if executive compensation is somebody that a lower level employee was searching for, they would not be able to see it. So there's different ways in which you can enable things. But in Spanish, it would work like the same way.
And just on that, you can see the question log, right? So you can have an account manager or somebody jump in there and be like, all right, well, what were all the questions asked? Okay, it was all focused around this specific benefit. We need to do a re-education on that benefit because that's where questions were coming from.
And on the solve one problem first, we're probably most known for all of our customers love using it for open enrollment guides, but both Tom and Jaime are using it, starting to adopt it for the entire customer lifecycle and through repetitive annual contracts. So and we're learning ways in which we can take what we've learned with the Accentures and the Salesforces of the world and design of stuff and build that into the template library that we have. And so if you don't have all your materials figured out, chances are we have a good starting point for you. So even if you have one problem like open enrollment guides, there's a dozen other things that we could help you get a head start on. There's a good question.
Are there integrations with Salesforce?
Yep.
Because we have our policy data, can I move my policy data into Relayto so I don't have to have to copy my information again from one person to another?
Yeah, and all the data that you're capturing on engagement can also be piped back into Salesforce at the account and the individual level. So if your CRO or CEO wants to see how are we, account health is a big issue for anybody that sells a service that's you can turn off, right? As how are our clients engaged with what we're providing? The analytics data and access to it through a Salesforce or through a HubSpot or through a Oracle or any other CRM solution can give executive leadership access into how each client is performing in terms of engagement with the materials they have in front of them.
And is the mapping easy to set up from one
Yep.
person to another?
Yep.
Well, and I'll say too, like Relayto has been a godsend in that they are really willing to work with us on whatever crazy idea that we have.
I love the crazier the better, honestly. That's kind of where I get my
It really
my kicks.
is as big as you can think and dream is really how big this platform can get.
And we are also play very nicely with other platforms. So Salesforce uses us for partner engagement where they embed a dozen different systems in Relayto. And we're a better delivery mechanism that introduces and educates people as to why you log into this system and where you click and do that. And then you can if it's iframeable, you can embed it in Relayto. There's really no file type that I'm aware of that we can't work with. And so if systems that you're using aren't being adopted, try wrapping it in a Relayto digital wrapper and you'll see an uptick in adoption. Okay.
And what I'll just add from if I'm in your seat hearing about this, I'm like, all right, this all sounds really great, but like, what's the lift to get something that looks, half decent in Relayto? They have a great academy. So it basically breaks down every single, interaction that you can create with in Relayto, how to upload a file, how to upload a video, how to add audio, how to put a GIF in, how to change the thumbnail. And there's all like 1 to 1.5 minute training snippets that you can use. So that's how I train all of my folks that are onboarding with us. Like, I don't sit down with them for an hour and go through it. I'm just like, here, go and, watch the academy. It's basically in sequential order of what you'll need to do. And then I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And very few of them actually come back with any because it's very user intuitive.
And I'll also say that Tom and UBA folks have negotiated a significant deal. You're paying less than 50% of what people off the street pay for Relayto. So it's a great smoking deal. You can get started small, grow as you go, and we'd be very happy to have every single person here become, a client.
Tom and Jamie, two pieces when I think about folks in this room. Either you're on sales or you're in that account management type organization or you're managing those people. So give me an example, Tom, of one where Relayto on the sales side has sped up your sales process, because we all know in benefits, sometimes it can be a long process. How has it helped you get to the end faster.
Yep.
And Jamie, from your seat, from an efficiency perspective, how much time would you say doing it your old way versus using Relayto? What's been the ROI?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first part. The data analytics is where the rubber meets the road on the sales process. Like if I know what my customer is interested in before I have that conversation, I've got a much higher likelihood of closing that deal than wasting time on areas that they aren't interested in. And I can also gain insights of when they're looking at it when I'm not around. So it's passive selling on my behalf. Every single piece of content that I put in front of them, a legislative brief, Live Well, Work Well newsletter, like I'm getting dinged on whenever that's being reviewed, and I can start seeing, those silent prospects, the people that I'm just blasting this information to that I've never had a conversation to in my life. I'm starting to build nuggets of what they're interested in. You'll be surprised putting it on newsletters. Folks that, again, you've never spoken to are consistently reading your content. And there's going to be a trigger point at some point in that relationship, and that's when you can act upon it from a prospecting perspective.
As far as ROI, I can very confidently say that my team is spending a third of the time on specifically open enrollment. If we just take open enrollment, that lift of making those flip books and recording over them, they're spending a third of the time, and the output is substantially better with the embedded videos, with the links, with all of that. And so it has really elevated our team so that we look more professional. Things are way more streamlined than they ever were before. And from also an efficiency and engagement standpoint, I can know that there's a little bit of quality control because everything is looking the same. It's in the same format. Whereas before, we had this account manager was doing this open enrollment guide and this producer wanted it this certain way. And we still have a customization to that, but at a different level.
So in terms of time savings, the chat thing, I just typed in sandbox because in the last page I know we're offering access to a free sandbox. That's how the chat, in this live example of how self-service can stop, it's not just content production, but what's the service elements that you guys have to deal with? Answering the same questions over and over and over again, right? Enabling it with the chat bot here will solve a lot of the questions and instantly for your clients so that they don't have to call you and all that as well. So.
Well, and like Tom said, it's starting with one thing, and the thing we started with was open enrollment, because that was taking a bunch of time. But like he said, we are now looking at what are the other ways that we can integrate this into our client's life cycle. Mm-hmm. If an HR person, instead of calling an account manager to ask a question about the plan document, instead of them making that call, if they can just go and type in their question to Relayto and get the answer from that plan document, how much time does that save our team? And so we're looking at ways to integrate it to just streamline everything we do.
When you talk about the enrollment guide, when you plug that in, you said you had a template, but do you have to have it completely ready, or will the AI pull a copay out of the SBC and plug it into your template? How much does it have to be prepped before, how much integration is there?
The document has to be done.
Okay.
But one cool thing about it is, so if you upload an open enrollment document and you notice the day before open enrollment that one of your copays is wrong, all you have to do is upload that new one into the same format, and it'll just change that one thing. So you don't have to re-engage with the videos and the links. It keeps all of that stuff for you. It just changes that one thing.
And we're also offering, for all of our UBA clients that become Relayto clients, free access to the clients that you work with. So some of your clients are DIY and want to get involved in collaborating on the right employee-facing materials. You can give them access, up to 3 people per client, access to the system. So not only are you differentiating on difference between PDF and digital media, but you're actually giving them access to a platform themselves that they would normally pay thousands of dollars for. So
they can see the analytics of
That's up to you. You can choose to share that with them or not, depending on what kind of user type you give them. So
if you're not giving them access, have you had experience with the cadence on how to share it with them, like post-open enrollment or anything like that?
We have not given HR access at this point. We're only using that internally. Not to say that we won't, it's just baby steps.
Yeah. So have you shared any of that data with them then? Like to say,
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Especially our largest clients. They want to know what people are asking questions about, where they're spending their time. And then on a few of our largest clients, we've even used that to say, hey, we noticed that a bunch of people are looking at the critical illness plan. Here's a one-pager on critical illness. Let's send that out to employees now.
To get the avatar to talk, I assume you upload a script, right?
yeah, so this is yet another layer. So there's so many layers of AI in our platform that we did not touch on today. I wrote a script, ran it through ChatGPT and said, punch it up, make it fun, and as if an avatar was going to read it. And that polished the script, and I fed that through a company called Synthesia. And this is a great example of how we play very well with other platforms. So Synthesia is the company that has that out-of-the-box woman avatar. So, and to Tom's point, it takes me an hour in my own platform. I'm going to say this, and this is a flaw of me, not the platform, but it takes me an hour to record a 5-minute welcome because I am not scripted and I fumble a lot like I did with the microphone. And but when you can use third-party systems like you can type the script out, make it communicate more effectively than I can ever do live, then via ChatGPT and then feed it into an avatar. I did each of these in 5 minutes. So.
You have pronunciation issues?
Yeah, there's some weird things that you got to work with in terms of punctuation and how you do things. But this was really just for more of a proof that we can do it. But yeah, there's stuff that I'm learning that I'd love to share what I've learned so far. If you know anything about using avatars or Synthesia in specific, I would love to learn from you as well.
And I'll just add, like outside of the Relayto platform, somebody talked about ROI. So I don't do any of my own audio anymore. Essentially, I uploaded a bunch of audio files to 11 Labs, so I now have a Tom Clements, this is scary, professional voice on 11 Labs.
And we nicked a couple of them ourselves, actually.
And because I'm now not having to physically do the recording, anybody in my office can type and run the script through 11 Labs. So we've found that we're able to produce these open enrollment guides generally in Q4, right, when everybody's busy. I'm not recording 35 of these things anymore. Somebody in my office is just running the script and plugging the audios in. Where it matters most to us as well is in the translation aspect. We're doing Spanish translations. I would then have had to have paid somebody to record it in Spanish. I'm now using 11 Labs for Tom Clements to speak Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, whatever I need to translate it in. So now we're able to recreate all of these different presentations, multi-languages to, cover everybody, again, very quickly.
How complex are your scripts? Just because, every client is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're getting into the nuances of plan designs, how it works, if the company's self-funded, are you seeing that you're spending more time typing these scripts rather than if you were to just record an audio going through it, based on the complexity of a benefit guide?
Yeah, I mean, even if I was recording it in English, I generally have a script. Right. So I'm not messing it up and then having to go back. What I will say is we try to keep our presentations very generic. Preventative care is preventative care. Telemedicine, doesn't matter if it's UHC, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, it's telemedicine. So I'm not mentioning the carrier names or anything like that. It's all on the screen, and I maybe have a check button that points them towards that carrier. So it's very intentional that we make it as sort of generic and broad as possible, so we're not having to retype everything. But the plan designs, yes, you're going through and you're typing that in. But I equate it to I'm doing that anyway, and then having to record it. I'm just cutting the recording part out.
Well, and what we've found too is most of our carrier partners have a lot of content. So whether that's a video or a learning lab that you can point employees to. So our talking can be very generic, and it can just point them to the link that's on that page if they want carrier-specific information.
A ton of great questions. Go ahead.
For somebody that's, back in 1996, I was very techie when I showed up and helped them start using, Excel files instead of doing things on word processors, but things have changed for me here 29 years later. But, I've got a whole library, primarily large groups, that were, doing this in Word, importing, apps and all. To get from where we are with my own template library of open enrollments, PowerPoints, all those things, what are kind of the simple steps in the process even to start using this just on the open enrollment?
Yeah, I can take that. So you're still using the same content, Word document, convert to PDF and upload. Yeah. It's now on a link, you don't have to worry about the file size. There's an AI generated navigation. So again, it's that like 5% extra of making that content sort of brought forward into the 21st century. Like the client is going to think, wow, I've got the table of contents and the navigation and everything. This looks really cool. Still started from the same Word file that you had, 30 seconds before. So it doesn't take a lot just to even get the information on the platform. All of the videos and the stuff like that, if you're interested in doing that, that's great. If not, it's just going to elevate the already existing stuff, that 5 to 10% that you want it to.
To put it in the order of magnitude, you can do individual uploads, you can do batch uploads, and for those that are carriers out there, we have an API that you can import thousands of files and convert them to.
So everything we've created for my top 15 clients, we have a 35-page open enrollment that's all branded and custom to them. We can upload that, and that's our starting point, and then work from there.
Exactly.
It's just a drag and drop.
And if it's in like PowerPoint or Google Slides or something like that, you can upload those directly and teach your folks. And in our template library, we even allow you to download a PowerPoint, mess around with it, upload it, so you can brand it from generic to, in the case of the example that we have here, Coca-Cola, a local favorite of Atlanta. But yeah, so there's no limit. We can really open the door to any kind of volume. And also at the volume level, this is getting to Louise, for those that are a little technical, we have CSS custom branding. So you can upload thousands of files and have them pre-formatted in the right color, in the right font, in the right logo instantly. So on upload. So
when you want to edit, say you get a presentation put together and you're like, I don't really love how this is laid out, and you kind of pulled it from maybe a carrier marketing piece. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you have to originally go back into kind of the PDF that Relayto had and manipulate it there and then re-upload it, or can you actually manipulate it in this site?
So we're really the layer of the videos and the interaction layer. You can technically overlay if you're going from Coca-Cola to Pepsi, you can overlay Coca-Cola's logo with an image within our platform of Pepsi, so you technically would be able to do that. But it's best to do it at the source document. So I can tell you there's ways to get around corners. I don't want to teach everybody the bad habits that I know, but yeah, the source asset. But now you can upload all kinds of different files, not just PDFs and Relayto, videos and the like. Okay.
Are you doing any benchmarking type stuff, leveraging some of those resources?
So that's a great point. We would love to talk to UBA about integrating a benchmarking platform like a template so that we can have a UBA branded yada yada, like benchmarking example. But we are now, this is going to be a little big brothery for everybody, we are now analyzing what's working, what's not at the file type level and the purpose of it. So I don't want to put too many commitments on our team size, but I saw something this week that's very exciting that's going to show you where and when you can improve your document, how our platform's improving it over by what degree on a numerical scale are you improving from PDF to what level, what steps can you do to improve it further in the platform. So we're going to be teaching you how, via the AI and via the platform, how to create the best and most productive solutions for content pieces moving forward. So it's only getting better. And things move very fast. So I was going to ask if Whitney from LHD is in the, yeah, there you are, okay. Did you see the animated thumbnail stuff yet that's embedded?
No.
Okay, so you had asked, I think 2 weeks ago, can we make it easier to do the thumbnails?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
It looks a lot different now.
Yeah, so that's,
Yes, they look really cool.
I was excited to kind of share that. We are constantly hearing from our customers, oh, can we do this? And then we type it into a product channel on Slack and kind of push our CFO or CTO to build it. So now thumbnails are all animated to some degree. You can improve on that individually, but yeah, we're constantly growing. So if there's any ideas, and Jaime, we've worked on a few things. If there's anything that you think we're missing, we'd love the opportunity to build something out that's even more tailored to not only UBA clients, benefits in general, but you in specific, or a use case with a specific customer you need to work on.
Yeah, so for an example, we are currently working with RT and his team to put our whole prospect life cycle into Relayto. So that when I have a producer that goes out on an initial meeting and that client or that prospect wants to move forward in our sales process, they can send them a Relayto hub, and that's where they're going to get all of their information. Where they'll fill out their starter kit in the hub, where we will upload all of our findings, where we will upload all of their documents so that if they want to ask questions in there and get a sense of the system before they're a client, they can do that, and where we put in our blueprint or our finalist presentation. And they're constantly going back to that same experience, and it's all Dillingham out, black and gold, so that it's branding. They're getting a feel of what it feels like to work with Dillingham.
And there is turnover in the broker world, as in every position. So, having your clients know where to go to find their information when there is transition from a broker in your firm to someone else, the experience for the broker or for the employer doesn't change, right? And everything's captured over the entire life cycle. So particularly at renewals, and how did we do it 3 years ago? Let's go back and look. And for those that mess up things when on upload, we also have a audit guide. So if you like the version that you uploaded 3 versions ago, you can always revert back to something previously. So it's almost fail-safe.
This question might have been asked already, but there seems to be value from a client portal perspective as a marketing distribution system. There's a lot of marketing content that's generated. We have self-funded specific marketing content. Is there any way to, instead of manually add it to each client's file or portal, to be create a group of the self-funded groups and have just one drop and you just have all of them?
Yep, you can do a newsletter for all of your clients and have them have access, and then have specific. I'm working with another company that it's a newsletter for a solar company, blah, blah, blah. And they have contractor information they have access to. So a branded newsletter for everyone with specific information for different stakeholder groups embedded within. So you can have, short story is everybody can have access to public stuff, and then you can segment by user type, or even to Tom's point earlier, down to the individual if you want to.
Yeah, the cloning feature is the biggest feature, right? So you just set up a self-funded hub, and then you just clone that into each individual client, like ABC client XYZ. They're both self-funded. We want to give them access, and then you're just cloning the self-funded hub and putting it in their specific folder. So it's really easy. Yeah.
So you said you're using this for your producers. So do you have a team that is uploading and sending them here's your presentation, or are they self-serving?
You go first.
A little bit of both. So we actually hired a communication and engagement manager specifically for Relayto. So he started in December, so everything flows through him. He's got all of the templates. Producer says I'm meeting with XYZ. This is their logo or whatever. He'll match up everything color scheme wise, and then he'll produce the presentation ready. 6 months ago we were doing it individually. So each producer, it was their responsibility basically to go into the presentation and manipulate it.
So I handle the templates and the builds of the original template in Relayto, and then our producers can just go in and copy that and upload their own document into it. So they are doing some self-service as well.
The other piece, does anybody do a blog still? So it's actually really good for blogs and like refreshed website content because everything lives on a hyperlink. You know, you can send it to your web hosting service and they can just drop it on a specific area of the page. Originally when we started Meridian, that's where we got our biggest ROI. I launched the benefits division for them, and of course there was no section on our website about that. And the person that built our website was like, yeah, I can have something, you know, posted up in like 2 to 4 weeks and it's going to cost you 10 grand to do that. And so he was like, can you share some of the content? I happen to have, you know, M&A stuff and PEO. I was like, here it is, here's the links. And he was like, okay, I can just put that actually on the employee benefits page. So within 24 hours, we had employee benefits listed on the website, and he just dropped on 2 different Relayto presentations that explained, you know, what the division was about.
Are you using Relayto to build newsletters or at all, like the premise of it, or no?
We're a big Zywave office, so we just pull, you know, commingling of their newsletters, live well, work well, you know, employee-focused ones and then employer-focused ones, distribute them separately in the same email, so they're their own unique links. So that's how we're producing.
But you're running them through?
We're running them through Relayto, putting the gate on them. You know, you have to have an email to view it or whatever, and then we're capturing nuggets on, you know, who's looking at it, you know, who's, you know, whatever, and building profiles, yep.
So this is one of my, another partner of mine that does podcasting as a service. And this is all of Relayto. They've overlaid their entire website with Relayto. And if the internet would pick up, what's interesting is that you can use us for marketing on the front end, on your website, social media. He does pod books. So he breaks a podcast, a long format podcast, into bite-sized subject matter chapters, and then creates, he's now doing pod sites instead of pod books, but the concept is you can, if you do a webinar, if you're doing this long-form thought leadership piece, you can break it into digital FAQs that are searchable, drive search engine optimization, and find you more clients, basically, and track how these asset pieces on your website are performing through the analytics. Let's see if...
And I'll just, it's again, kind of related to Relayto, but not related to Relayto. Dawn from Brinson Benefits, I was on one of the committee calls. They actually upload into some site the open enrollment guide, and it automatically creates a podcast of 2 people talking about the benefit programs. So that's something that we're going to start investigating for Relayto. So now, rather than me going through and audio scripting, you know, everything, maybe we can just upload it and add the audio in from the podcast. Now we create an even faster turnaround on content. So, you know, Relayto doesn't solve for everything, but it solves for like the base foundation that you're going to need to churn out good content. And then you can find other technologies to layer in that's going to, you know, enhance that capability of the content.
Yeah, if anybody hadn't tried that Notebook LM.
That's it, really cool.
You can upload any document and it creates a podcast with these 2 people talking very conversationally. And it's fascinating and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
Just like me speaking Spanish.
Exactly, and then you put you can track all of that and embed it into smaller pieces. That's what this is a broken down 1:54 snippet from a video, and he's embedded that in. And okay, sorry, ton of great questions, and there isn't a scenario where you can't use Relayto. I'm a little bit proud of our platform for that. But if there's any questions, definitely come by. Again, table 1, hang a left when you go in and go all the way around.
And in case you were still on the fence, RT will give you a cow blazer.
Yeah, you can. We had pictures
sign-up's
last night
got
at
a
the
cow
bar. I'm
blazer.
surprised nobody wanted to wear